Good morning, fellow American patriots, and welcome back to another episode of the Bald Brad Show. Today's January 4th, 2024, and Joe Biden, good old Joey, is still the worst president in American history. What are we looking at today? Well, folks, we are dissecting a spectacle so revealing it could only happen in the crazy world of Washington politics. Picture this: Jacqui Heinrich of Fox News, our Wonder Woman, who is a beacon of journalistic integrity in an era where Democrats obscure the truth, steps into the ring with none other than White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. The topic? The staggering number of migrant encounters at our southern border. Over 302,000. It takes my breath away when I say that number in December alone. Let that sink in. The highest ever recorded, historical, unprecedented. And what does the administration have to say about this? Folks, they're calling it ebbs and flows. Just casual. It's normal migration. Yes, they are calling it ebbs and flows whenever they break a record, like we saw in the month of December, for 302,000 migrant encounters in a single month. Check this clip out.
Thank you, Karine. A couple weeks ago, you had said what we're seeing at the border isn't unusual, but in the month of December, there were more than 302,000 migrant encounters, the highest total for a single month ever reported. So does the administration concede that what we're seeing now is unusual?
What I said was, to be exact, is that what we're seeing at the U.S. is ebbs and flows in how many migrants arrive at the border. It's something that happens every year. It ebbs and flows. And it's fueled by efforts of smugglers to encourage irregular migration. And I will add, since May 12th, DHS has removed folks who have been here illegally, who were not here on a legal basis, about 460,000 people that they've been able to remove. That's what I said. Every year we see an ebbs and flow, and that's what we're seeing at this time, and which is caused by misinformation and disinformation from smugglers.
Freaking really? Ebbs and flows? They're going to use this phrase that's seemingly plucked from a second-rate poetry contest, and it's being used to describe a situation that is, by all measurable standards, extraordinary. That is mind-blowing. It's head-spinning. But wait. There's more. Karine Jean-Pierre insisted that she never said what is taking place at the southern border is not unusual. But we have the tape. We just went back 2 weeks of her on December 21st, 2023, saying exactly what Jacqui Heinrich is quoting her as saying.
And what we're seeing here at the border, the migration flow, increased migration flow, certainly it ebbs and flows. And we're at a time of the year where we're seeing more at the border. And it's not unusual. This is an immigration system that has been broken for decades. And the president has taken this very seriously to try to do more.
So it really begs the question, is the White House really that obtuse? Or do they genuinely believe that the American people are too lethargic to rewind a mere 2 weeks and uncover the truth? They honestly must think we're living in some Orwellian dystopia where yesterday's truths are today's falsehoods and vice versa. But guess what, Karine? The American people are not just a bunch of couch potatoes. They're astute, they are observant, and they certainly don't appreciate being taken for a ride down amnesia lane. But remember, folks, this is all a part of an annual cycle. It's normal, and it's as predictable as the seasons, according to the White House. And yet, when pressed, her defense crumbles in a heap of half-truths and diversions. But here's where things really get interesting. Remember facts? Those pesky little things that seem to be an endangered species in today's political discourse? Well, they tell a different story. Yes, Karine, obviously there are migration patterns that do fluctuate. But to suggest that over 300,000 encounters in a single month is just another ebb, that it's normal, is not just intellectually dishonest, it's a gross misrepresentation of reality. And let's not forget the classic redirection. Blame the smugglers, blame misinformation, blame everyone but the policies and the president that might just be contributing to this unprecedented surge. Now, you patriots, obviously you're smart. You see through the spin. The administration's attempt to downplay this crisis is nothing short of staggering. It's head spinning. It's as if they believe that repeating ebbs and flows enough times that they can lull the American public into a stupor of acceptance. But here's the thing. We're not buying it. We demand accountability, we demand transparency, and most importantly, we demand the truth. But that's clearly too much to ask from this administration. If they were to give us these things, they would have already done it by now. Oh, but there's more, folks. no, there's more to this. Jacqui Heinrich slaps Karine Jean-Pierre so damn hard right over her head by asking a question as straightforward as it gets. Jacqui asks, with a record-breaking 302,000 encounters at the border in December and only 142,000 deportations for the entire fiscal year, how does this add up to a measurable consequence? Now, that's a fair question, you might think, but no. Karine Jean-Pierre's response is a masterclass in the art of bureaucratic doublespeak. Let's roll it.
Well, I reported that they only deported 142,000 in all of the fiscal year 2023. December had more than double that cross in just a single month. So how is that really a measurable consequence?
Since May 12th, DHS has been able to remove and return over 460,000 individuals who did not have a legal basis to be here. That's what DHS has been able to do since May 12th. And I will remind you, that just last week we had Homeland Security Advisor Sherwood Randall and Secretaries Biden and Mayorkas meet with the Mexican government just last week, and it was a productive conversation. And we believe that the President of Mexico has taken significant enforcement actions, and we are starting to see the results. And so a lot of this is diplomacy, right? A lot of it is having diplomacy. A lot of it is enforcement. I just laid out how last May, while DHS was starting to remove folks who were not here on a legal basis, you had House Republicans voting to get rid of 2,000 Border Patrol agents. That's what they were doing. So we're trying to deal with the issue, and we get it. It ebbs and flows every year. We get it. We understand what's happening at the border. That's why there's negotiations happening on the Senate side with Republicans and Democrats to deal with this issue.
Folks, she claimed with a straight face that since May 12th, DHS has miraculously removed 460,000 individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do the math on this. Something our friends in Washington seem allergic to. These numbers don't just strain credibility, they shatter it. We're expected to believe that in the span of a few months, DHS almost tripled their annual deportation figures. It's either a bureaucratic miracle or, more likely, a blatant manipulation of facts. And then, in a twist that would make a freaking pretzel seem straight, she brings up a meeting with the Mexican president, touting it as a success. A productive conversation, she calls it. Here's a thought. Since when did diplomacy magically equate to enforcement? They are as different as night and day, chalk and cheese, facts, and, whatever this administration peddles as truth. But wait, there's more. I know. In a stroke of deflection worthy of a magician, Jean-Pierre blames House Republicans for voting to remove 2,000 Border Patrol agents. A fascinating claim. But let's stick to the facts, shall we? The issue at hand is not about personnel. It's about policy. It's about the president. It's about the abject failure to address a border crisis that ebbs and flows like a tsunami rather than a gentle tide. Patriots, what we have here is a case of an administration playing fast and loose with the truth. It's a numbers game where the math doesn't add up, the policies don't line up, and the answers don't straighten up. And at the end of the day, it's the American people who are left scratching their heads, trying to make sense of a narrative that's about as clear as mud. Remember, folks, in the land of political spin, the truth is often the first casualty. Oh, but we aren't done. No. Jacqui, just as confused as the rest of us with this administration's handling, of everything, follows up with Karine by asking, why amidst the unprecedented surge in the administration actively working to remove razor wire along the border, a measure intended to deter illegal crossings? It's a question that any rational person would find important, but here's the response from Karine Jean-Pierre.
Dealing with the issue as the administration's also fighting to keep up, to remove razor wire along the border that is intended to keep, this surge lowered, to keep people out from crossing illegally.
Governor Abbott's razor wire does not prevent. It does not prevent non-citizens from unlawfully crossing. That's not what it does. If anything, it puts at risk, it puts the lives of the Border Patrol at risk. It puts them in danger. That's what the razor wire does. And that's what the Governor Abbott is doing. Again, a political stunt that doesn't actually fix the problem and puts Border Patrol agents.
Fixing it right now.
Well, I just don't, but, I mean.
Sure, a temporary solution, obviously, but I guess the reason that I'm
But
coming to
Jacqui,
it from this perspective is because
it puts Border Patrol, it puts them in a difficult position.
No, folks, that wasn't artificial intelligence. That was Karine Jean-Pierre, the mouthpiece of the leader of the free world. And she claimed, with a straight face again, that Governor Greg Abbott's razor wire is not just ineffective, but it's dangerous. Dangerous, she says, to Border Patrol agents. Now, hold on a minute. Let's just apply just a smidgen of logic here. Razor wire, a standard security measure used worldwide, the entire globe, suddenly becomes a hazard, not just to those attempting to enter illegally, but to the very people tasked with securing the border. Interesting. And then the piece de resistance, labeling this security measure as a political stunt. The irony is so thick that it would be cut with a knife. Here's a thought. Perhaps the real political stunt is downplaying an effective border security measure in the name of political correctness. Perhaps the real danger is not just the razor wire, but an administration so entangled in its web of progressive narrative that it can't see the forest for the trees. But let's not stop there, folks. Let's talk about what really puts lives at risk. It's not the inanimate coils of wire designed to enforce a lawful border. No, it's the reckless policies and this president that incentivizes illegal crossings, the mixed messages sent to both law enforcement and migrants, and the blatant disregard for the rule of law. So here we are, in a world where up is down, left is right, and razor wire is a villain of the peace. It's not just the surging numbers of the border that are the problem. It's the measures put in place to manage them. In the end, it's not just the border that's being crossed, it's the line between common sense and political absurdity. But Jacqui was not having it with this administration's antics. She pointed out the glaringly obvious. Cities across America, from Denver to Chicago to New York, are buckling under the weight of migrant influxes. She's not talking hypotheticals here. She's talking real, tangible impacts on American cities. And then there's Texas, forced to take matters into their own hands in the face of federal inaction. The numbers, the records being shattered month after month, it's like a tidal wave of hitting our shores. But Karine Jean-Pierre's response to all this? Oh, it's classic. Blame the House Republicans. Yes, that's right. In a world, according to the White House, it's not the policies, it's not the president, not the mixed messages, not the lack of enforcement. It's those pesky House Republicans. They're the ones blocking the president's noble efforts. They're the ones playing political games. And the claim that they voted to decrease Border Patrol agents by 2,000, a cherry-picked fact twisted into a weapon of political blame shifting.
Right?
I hear you. But when you're talking about the impeachment proceeding, for instance, as baseless, and you have, Democrats calling on the administration to do more. You had the mayor of Denver today saying that Denver has become the highest city per capita for migrant recipients in the country. You've had mayors in New York and Chicago begging for more federal help, saying that the administration is not answering them. And then you have Texas saying that they've had to take measures into their own hands because the administration isn't enforcing existing laws on the books. The numbers keep going up. You have, records being shattered every month. A population bigger than the size of Seattle coming in since October. And I understand where you're coming from, but in the meantime, when there's really not been any progress, and you always talk about how this has been an issue for decades, what is the administration doing right now to actually improve the crisis at the border?
We have House Republicans that's literally blocking the president's effort to do something. That's what they're doing. They're playing political games. They're doing political stunts. Literally, House Republicans themselves voted to decrease the amount of Border Patrol agents by 2,000. They're getting in the way and they don't want to help. But we are glad that we are working with Senate Republicans and Democrats in a bipartisan way to come up with a bipartisan agreement to deal with the border security. That's what we're seeing. Those negotiations have been going on. They're continuing this week, and we really do hope that we come to a place where we can talk about a bipartisan agreement where we can deal with the funding and the policy. And House Republicans are getting in the way. That's what they want to focus on. That's where they see there could be the most effective, and that's not what we believe. That's not what the American people want. Go ahead, Peter.
Let's just dissect this for just one moment. House Republicans, like any opposition, have a duty to challenge, to scrutinize, to hold accountable. But to lay the entire border crisis at their feet, that's not just disingenuous, it's a deflection. And then the promise of a bipartisan agreement. Now, folks, correct me if I'm wrong, but when cities are overrun, when record numbers cross the border, when states take up the mantle of border security, is negotiations and hope for funding really the robust response we need? Folks, this is not just political theater that we're seeing from the White House. It's a tragedy. A tragedy of leadership, a tragedy of accountability, and the American people, those watching the fabric of their communities being stretched and strained. They don't need more finger pointing, more empty promises, more negotiations. They need action. They need solutions. They need an administration that acknowledges the crisis for what it is and tackles it head on, and you're not going to get it from Democrats. This isn't just about numbers or policies or the president of the United States being a dullard, a geriatric. It's about the very soul of our nation. It's about the rule of law, the sanctity of our borders, and the safety of our communities. It's about an administration that seems more concerned about political optics, a narrative, than with the real, tangible impacts of their decisions. Honestly, we can't go on like this, not for another 4 years. The Biden administration, if left unchecked, threatens to unravel the very fabric of what makes our country great. It's time for a change at the very top. Because if we continue down this path, what's left of our nation will be but a shadow of its former self. So as we sign off here today, remember this, Patriots. Our strength lies in our awareness, our voice, and our vote. It's up to us to stand for the truth, to hold those in power accountable, and to ensure that the next chapter in our nation's history is one of renewal and not regret. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. God bless you, and God bless America.